So now that we have our interest rate and our years and everything's named, it's now time to calculate that monthly payment. And this is going to be really helpful because we're going to be able to see what we're referencing rather than just using cell names and cell references. We can actually call upon names of things that we would recognize. Now, I want you to see if you can find a function that Excel has built in that will allow us to calculate a monthly payment. So pause the video here and see if you can find that function. So thinking about what group this is going to be in, I'm on the formulas tab. I can use one of these function areas, and this is kind of like financial, right? We're talking about finance. So I can kind of scroll through here and I can look through here. And one of the ways that Excel really names all of their equations and functions is by abbreviating things. So payment is usually abbreviated to PMT, and amount is usually abbreviated to AMT. It's kind of just like a business thing. And so like IPMT is an interest payment. So if I hover over that, it says interest payment. So I'm looking to make a monthly payment, right? Or calculate a payment of some sort. And there is actually a PMT function. And this says when I hover over it, calculates the payment for a loan, okay, a loan, based on constant payments, so we're constantly paying it, and a constant interest rate. I think this is a really important point because our interest rate for the course of our loan is 3.5, and it's going to stay consistent the whole time. Now, you can have an adjustable rate if you wanted to. Keep in mind that when an adjustable rate works is that it starts out at one rate and it can change and fluctuate over time. So you can't really keep in mind what it's going to look like. Now, you can try and calculate it, but you don't know how much it's going to fluctuate. So keep that in mind when you're doing it. But we are going to, in fact, use a PMT function. Now, if you don't have this available up here, you can always go to the FX button and you can search for one, right? Like I can go payment here and I can hit go, and it will give me the recommended options. If I put in monthly payment, monthly loan payment, let's try that. Oh, nope, let's go loan payment and see what it pops up with. And it says there's only 3 and PMT is one of them. Your goal is to get into that function and get into this dialog box because this is where we're going to start actually being able to create what we want. Now, when you're in the function dialog box, it's important to note that you have the ones that are in bold and the ones that are not. The ones that are in bold, the arguments that are in bold, they are required to work for the functions. You have to fill those in. The ones that are not required. And what's also important about this dialog box is it explains one, what the loan's going to be, or what the function does. And you can see my function is in the top left. And then it explains each of these arguments down here. So if I click an NPER, it'll show me the explanation for that, and PV, the explanation for that. So you have those explanations. So I'm going to start in rate, and it says rate is the interest rate. Okay, great. So I'm going to click in rate, and I'm going to go grab the interest rate, and you'll see it'll bring in the words interest rate, and it'll show me that I'm going to have an interest rate of 0.035. But then it says it's the interest rate per period for the loan. For example, if you are charged quarterly for the loan, you divide by 4. So if you're charged 6% of APR, annual percentage rate, annual means yearly. So if you're charged 6% yearly and you only pay every quarter, so every 3 months, divided by 4. Well, the question is, how often do we pay, right? How often are we paying this loan? How many times are you making a payment every year? You're making a payment monthly, right? So what are we going to do with our interest rate to make that payment monthly if this is a yearly interest rate and we know we're going to pay 3.5% yearly? Well, if you're paying monthly, you're going to divide by 12 because you're going to take the 3.5% you're paying yearly and you're going to pay it monthly, divide by 12 because there's 12 months in a year. Okay, so you know you're going to pay about 2.9% or 0.29% every month to equal out that 3.5% over the year. Okay, the next one, NPER. NPER is the total number of payments for the loan. So we're paying monthly, so 12 times a year. How long are we paying it for? Well, 5 years. We put in a number of years, 5 years. So we're going to multiply that by 5 because we're paying it monthly for 5 years. That means we're going to have 60 payments over the course of the entire loan, right? Okay, so we've got that in there. And sometimes you got to read these and you got to really look into what are you doing. Present value. Is the present value the total amount that a series of future payments is worth now? How much is your loan worth? What's it currently worth at this point in time, this date and time when we're about to get this loan? Well, it's worth 9 grand because I'm going to have 9 grand be my loan that I'm paying back over time. So that's how much it's worth. And you can see that if I take my interest rate, divide it by 12 for the number of months in the year, take my number of years and multiply it by 12 to figure out how many times I'm going to pay this. So I'm going to pay it 60 times. And then I take what I currently owe. I'm going to be paying out $163.72 every month. And it's a negative number because I'm paying it out, right? I'm losing money. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK, and it will calculate that amount. It'll put it in parentheses and red because that's the accounting format for negative money or, money you're losing.